Hey Jam Fam, it's your neighborhood black girl with Endo, Jamayca, and today I'm talking to you about why I'm going to need surgery. Another one! So yes, this will be my third surgery in 4 years. All of my surgeries were necessary, but I spent a couple of years being pain-free, so I didn't need a surgery kind of in between that time. This surgery is actually due to a complication from my excision surgery that the surgeon has not seen before, and also because he hadn't seen it before, he wasn't able to anticipate it. So just backtracking a little bit, you can check out my video about the whole thing that happened, but I ended up in the ER a couple of weeks ago, and I found out that I had a hernia. Now, hernias themselves are like basic, they're kind of a basic issue. There are surgeons that just specialize in hernias. They repair them all day. It's not a big thing. Mine is and was an issue because where my hernia is causing my peritoneal fluid to leak out of me. And while peritoneal fluid itself is not really a big issue to have, everybody has peritoneal fluid. It's just the fluid that's like in your abdomen that covers and protects your organs. It should not be leaking out of you. Most people who have like liquid or something that is in and around their belly button, it's not actually coming out of them. It's infected, and you can tell that it's infected for various reasons. It's red, there's other things going on. That's not what was happening for me. What was happening for me was that it was just liquid randomly happening, and there was no smell, there was no redness, there was nothing. It was just coming out. It was actually really scary. So anyway, I ended up in the ER. They were like, that is very concerning. And so I got a CT, and the CT showed I had a hernia, but the hernia didn't explain why I would possibly be leaking. Like, I was like, okay, I have a hernia. Like, okay. And so, but the hernia doesn't create holes outside of the body. It shouldn't. Not in most cases. I don't think that's not the definition of a hernia. The hernia is actually a hole within your it's when there's something coming out of the cavity wall in your body. It can be in various places. It's usually in the abdomen, but those holes or weaknesses in those walls don't lead to outside of your body. Those are weaknesses inside of your body. And that's why you need imaging to see them and all this other stuff. Now, I think it's good that I know that I have a hernia and that it needs to be repaired. But again, why am I leaking fluid? That was the question that I've been trying to answer for the past couple of weeks. They didn't want to repair the hernia without understanding why I would be leaking peritoneal fluid, because it could exacerbate the problem. It could just not solve the problem. Or it could solve the problem temporarily and then have it come back. All of those kind of defeat the purpose of having a surgery. You don't really want to have recurring surgeries, although, like I said, 3rd and 4 years. But if you can avoid having multiple surgeries for the same exact problem, you want to. So yeah, my doctors were trying to figure out what was really going on. I ended up in the doctor literally like 8 times in 10 days because they really didn't know what was going on, and they were trying to figure out if it was an urgent problem, a dire problem, or if it was just a regular thing, like, is it something that sometimes happens? So my regular specialist, who is a urogynecologist, he actually reached out to a general surgeon who does these type of hernia repairs all the time. They talked extensively. They talked for like a full day, about my case, because it's honestly, it's not very typical. It's very atypical. Even the general surgeon said it's very atypical. It's not something that you see. It's not my favorite thing being a first. It's not the first, accolade I want to have, but I'm happy to help people if it comes up again. And maybe it has happened to other people before, just not in this world, or maybe their cause was very obvious. Like, I'm sure people have leaked peritoneal fluid, but with an obvious cause. Mine is not very obvious. They're like, that's very odd. So yeah. One of the theories is that I have implanted endometriosis along my incision, and my incision is right along where my hernia is, and that is causing the tissue lining to be weak. Even though it's not necessarily breaking, it's becoming more porous, and so fluid is able to leak out of it. And in somebody who didn't have endometriosis in their scar tissue, or didn't have endometriosis, so didn't have scar tissue, that wouldn't happen. And that's one of the reasons that it's very unusual. First of all, incisional endometriosis is not super common, although, it's documented. Second of all, even though you have an incisional endometriosis, event, that doesn't mean it's going to weaken things to the point where things can leak through. So now the question is, how do they know it's endometriosis? And if they need to take it out, what does that mean for the surgery? They want to repair my hernia. My hernia is actually causing some random problems. It's very uncomfortable, but it's not painful. It's just like a dull, constant burning sensation. And he was like, yeah, we can go in and fix that. There'll be a mesh, just like all this other stuff. He was like, I'm not really concerned about the general fix. What he's concerned about is that if it's endometriosis in the incision, how does that affect any other procedures or cuts or scars that are happening to that same area? What is going to happen after? Again, the mechanisms for how endometriosis even happens are very unclear. There are tons of theories, but nobody has proven any of them directly because there's so many variations. And so incisional endometriosis, again, is not very common, and the likelihood that incisional endometriosis is the only endometriosis around that part is actually pretty low. There's probably more, it's probably deeper, and so they're trying to figure out what is going to happen next. What that means for me is that I'm going to have surgery in July, and it's going to be a double surgeon surgery. There's going to be a urogynecologist and a general surgeon who are going to operate on me, and they'll be doing different things. The general surgeon will be repairing the hernia. They're going to repair the hernia regardless. What they're trying to decide is if they're going to add a mesh. If they're not sure about the incisional endometriosis, then they won't add a mesh. They think that the mesh basically causes scar tissue to form, and that scar tissue is what creates the hard bond that repairs hernias. Now, if all that scar tissue ends up with incisional endometriosis, it's going to be extremely painful for me, and also they'll have to redo the surgery without a mesh, and that's like a whole thing. So you would rather do it without the mesh. So now my urogynecologist is going to go in and do an evaluation of the area and of some other areas of concern to see if it's endometriosis. If it is, then he'll take it out, and then they will repair my hernia, and they will not put in a mesh. It's not very straightforward. They're looking again for other things. Endometriosis is very distinctly, you can see it when you're in surgery. It's hard to see on imaging, but if you have deep endometriosis like I do, you can sometimes see it on imaging. And my MRI, they were worried that they saw some in the pouch of Douglas, I believe it was, somewhere in the pelvic arena. And so they're gonna be doing some just general evaluation of my tissues because they'll be in there anyway. How do I feel about it? I mean, I don't feel great. I'd rather not be sick. But I'm glad that there is some sort of solution. The general surgeon, let me tell you, he is a great doctor. I do not like doctors. I don't like doctors. I've seen a lot of them, but I don't like them. You can tell a good doctor when you meet one. Most doctors to me are just average. It's not that they don't want to help. I think sometimes that they're just overloaded. And so they go super quick. They don't really listen. They think they have the answer already. And so they're not really sure like how to actually help you. I've had that experience multiple times, time and time again, different systems, different places in the US, and they've all been basically the same. So when I found these two doctors, I was like, oh, these are some good doctors. These doctors are great. Now, mind you, the doctor who I saw this past week, my general surgeon, he just was giving my case off the random. He took my case off the random. My gynecologist, who is my specialist, just called him because they were friends, and he wanted to know his opinion on it. And he was like, okay, send her over. And so I was like, wait, what? Usually, now mind you, I've been in the healthcare system for a long time. If you trying to get an appointment, they're talking like 3 months out. He was like, send her in on Thursday. I was like, it is currently Tuesday. He was like, yep, Thursday, let's do it. I was like, okay, great, awesome, But, I was really grateful that he took the case. And then secondly, that he was a good doctor. I do think that I'm going to get some help with this issue. I'm not currently, consistently leaking, which is good. But again, the cause is still unknown. But there is a plan to solve it. So yeah, I'm going to have surgery again. It is related to endometriosis, although it is not first and foremost an endometriosis surgery, but it could turn into one. It shouldn't be that long of a recovery, and thankfully it should not affect my core strength. The last surgery I had, I lost all my core strength. I have since gained it all back, but it was hard work to do. I asked that question specifically of the general surgeon, and he was like, nope, shouldn't be a problem. I do this all day, every day. They are not doing anything that should compromise my actual core. So yeah, life of a Black girl with endo. I am, again, grateful that there is some sort of solution, and I'm happy to follow through and see how it can help my body be healthy. I have a goal to live a healthy, wonderful, pain-free life, and so that's my journey. If it means I have to have a little bit of surgery during the summer, then here we go. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you are living your best life. You deserve a pain-free life full of beauty and love. Go forth and live.